The stadium roared with laughter as the human contingent stepped onto the luminescent platform of Brawl Nebula's central arena. General G, the six-armed announcer with metallic skin that reflected the stadium lights in dazzling patterns, could barely contain his amusement as he introduced Earth's champions to the assembled galactic audience. And now, beings of all origins and evolutionary paths, I present to you the latest addition to our glorious tournament, representatives from the backwater mudball known as Earth. The holographic displays zoomed in on the four humans standing awkwardly in the center of the massive arena. Compared to the towering Athraxians with their triple-jointed limbs, or the ethereal Zen collective whose bodies rippled like smoke through force fields, the humans looked absurdly primitive. They call themselves warriors, General G continued, his voice echoing throughout the massive complex. Though I'm not sure what they plan to battle with, those pathetic muscle fibers, those fragile calcium struts they call a skeleton, those easily punctured fluid sacs? The crowd's laughter intensified. In the luxury observation deck, High Overseer Galen Veith, the tournament's administrator and 16-time champion, watched with barely concealed disdain. His crystalline eyes narrowed as he studied the human contingent. "This is what the council sends me. After 3,000 cycles of glorious combat," he muttered to his attendant, "these meat puppets won't survive the preliminary rounds." Down in the arena, the humans stood shoulder to shoulder, unfazed by the mockery. Brick Beef Samson, a mountain of a man with muscles that strained against his ludicrously tight tank top, cracked his knuckles and spat on the arena floor. The liquid sizzled against the energy-infused surface. Beside him, Sister Maria Chains adjusted the modified clerical collar around her neck, the sacred symbols etched into her brass knuckles catching the light. Her traditional nun's habit had been modified with reinforced armor plates, and the rosary hanging from her belt clinked against the collection of small bottles filled with mysterious liquids. Roach Morales, the smallest of the group, nervously shifted his weight from one foot to the other, eyes darting around as if looking for escape routes. His worn cargo shorts and faded t-shirt made him look more like a tourist who had taken a wrong turn than a champion fighter. And finally, Doughy Daddy Delgado, barely 5 feet tall but with a presence that somehow filled the arena, cracked her neck and winked at a 12-foot Magnetar warlord, who instinctively took a step back. "Welcome to your doom, Earth creatures," General G announced with theatrical flair. "The first round begins in 12 microcycles. May your deaths entertain us all." As the humans were escorted to their preparation chamber, Duran, the four-armed referee assigned to the Earth team, shook his head in pity. "You should never have come," he said, his translator device converting his clicks and whistles into English. "No species has ever entered Brawl Nebula without at least 5 centuries of interstellar combat experience." Brick flexed his pectorals individually, a trick that made Duran's compound eyes widen slightly. "Yeah, well," Brick rumbled, "first time for everything, right?" Duran hesitated, then leaned closer. "Between us, I have placed a small wager on your team. Not to win, of course, that would be insanity, but to survive longer than 3 minutes in the first match. Please, try to last at least that long." Roach gave a nervous laugh. 3 minutes? Man, I was hoping to tap out in 30 seconds. Sister Maria slapped him on the back of the head. "Remember why we're here, Roach. Earth needs this recognition to enter the Galactic Council. We must prove ourselves worthy." "Worthy of what?" Roach muttered. "Worthy of getting our spines ripped out through our nostrils?" Doughy stepped between them. "Focus, people. We've got a plan. We stick to it." Duran's confusion was evident even through his alien features. "Plan? What plan could possibly help you against the champions gathered here?" The humans exchanged glances but said nothing. "The first match has been determined," Duran announced, checking his glowing datapad. "Brick Beef Samson will face Krull the Destroyer, champion of the Athraxian Dominion." Brick's smile widened. "Perfect." 12 minutes later, the entire Brawl Nebula complex fell silent as Brick stood over the unconscious form of Krull the Destroyer. The massive Athraxian champion, with his chitinous armor and razor-sharp limbs, lay face down on the arena floor, one arm bent at an impossible angle. Brick, bleeding from several cuts but otherwise unharmed, raised his arms in victory as the stunned silence gave way to confused murmurs. Did he just... General G's voice faltered for the first time in 300 years of announcing. Did that human just perform what he called the people's elbow on Krull the Destroyer? In the luxury box, Overseer Galen Veith crushed the crystal goblet in his hand. What trickery is this? He demanded. No one defeats an Athraxian champion in hand-to-hand combat, especially not with such a ridiculous technique. His attendant cautiously stepped forward. The match was fair. Overseer, our sensors detected no illegal enhancements or weapons. The human simply outsmarted Krull. Outsmarted? He jumped from the third rope and dropped his elbow onto Krull's thorax. That's not strategy, that's lunacy. Down in the arena, Brick strutted around the fallen Athraxian, playing to the increasingly excited crowd. Several alien spectators had already begun mimicking his movements, their anatomies struggling to replicate the flexing and posing. This changes nothing, Galen hissed. The other humans will fall. This was a fluke, nothing more. The tournament continued, and to the astonishment of the galactic audience, Sister Maria Chains stepped into the arena against Purity of Zen, a gaseous entity that had never known defeat. The betting odds were 1,000,000,000,000 against the human. Sister Maria calmly walked to the center of the arena, her rosary beads clicking softly as she moved. Purity of Zen manifested as a swirling vortex of purple and silver energy, pulsing with ancient power. Your primitive beliefs are no match for my spiritual perfection. The entity's thoughts echoed in everyone's mind. I have achieved oneness with the cosmic consciousness. Sister Maria nodded respectfully. Impressive. I've achieved oneness with something too. She pulled a bottle from her belt. It's called holy water, with a twist. Before anyone could react, she uncorked the bottle and flung its contents at the entity. The liquid passed through the gaseous form with no apparent effect. Your primitive attack fails. Purity of Zen gloated. Nothing material can harm my... Sister Maria struck a match against her brass knuckles and flicked it toward the entity. The air erupted in blue and gold flames as the gaseous being shrieked in surprise. Holy water and ethanol, my own special Molotov communion. Sister Maria explained, pulling out bottle after bottle and creating a circle of sacred fire around the frantically swirling entity. The crowd watched in disbelief as the nuns systematically corralled the once invincible being into an increasingly smaller space, chanting what sounded like Latin mixed with creative profanity. In the observation deck, Galen Veith was on his feet. This is impossible. Purity of Zen cannot be contained by physical means. Apparently, it can be contained by spiritual means, sir, his attendant observed, earning a withering glare. Sister Maria completed her fiery ritual by throwing one final bottle that erupted in a cross-shaped flame. The entity, trapped and disoriented, condensed into a small, pulsing orb. Do you yield? Sister Maria asked calmly. The once mighty consciousness, now reduced to the size of a baseball, flickered weakly in surrender. The stadium erupted in chaos. Bookmakers collapsed in financial ruin. Spectators from 1,000 worlds began frantically researching Earth culture on their data devices. 2 victories, Galen growled. 2 flukes. This cannot continue. The third match featured Roach Morales against Viznik the Hunter, a predatory being from the Centauri wastes with enhanced senses and reflexes that allowed him to anticipate any attack. As the match began, Viznik crouched in a perfect hunting stance, his sensory organs extended to track Roach's every movement. Roach, for his part, looked terrified. He shuffled nervously, glancing at the exits. Begin, Duran announced. What happened next would be replayed across galactic networks for centuries. Roach sprinted, not toward his opponent, but away from him. He ran to the edge of the arena, vaulted over a safety barrier, and disappeared into a maintenance tunnel. The crowd was bewildered. General G was speechless. Viznik stood confused in the center of the arena. Has the human forfeited? Duran asked hesitantly. For 5 full minutes, nothing happened. Viznik maintained his hunting stance, occasionally shifting position to face different entrances. The crowd began to grow restless. Then, without warning, a metallic object rolled across the arena floor from a ventilation duct. Viznik's enhanced senses immediately detected the movement, and he pounced on the object, a bowling ball painted to resemble a human skull. The moment Viznik touched it, the ball's surface activated, adhering to his claws. As he tried to shake it off, he lost his balance, tripping over the heavy object now firmly attached to his limb. From another vent, Roach's voice echoed, "Strike!" Viznik snarled and lunged toward the sound, but the bowling ball threw off his balance. He stumbled, crashed into a barrier, and fell hard. As he struggled to his feet, another bowling ball rolled from yet another vent. For the next 10 minutes, the feared hunter of the Centauri wastes was reduced to stumbling around the arena, attached to multiple bowling balls, while Roach's disembodied voice called out, "Spare," and "Split" from various hiding places. Eventually, exhausted and humiliated, Viznik collapsed under the weight of 6 bowling balls. Roach emerged from a service hatch, casually strolled over to his prone opponent, and placed a foot on his back. "Winner, Roach Morales of Earth," Duran announced, unable to keep the amazement from his voice. In his observation deck, Galen Veith was beyond furious. "He didn't even fight! This isn't combat. It's effective, sir," his attendant suggested. The final preliminary match featured Doughy Daddy Delgado against the Ripper, a hulking creature 3 times her size with blades extending from every joint in its exoskeleton. The size difference was so absurd that many spectators couldn't even see Dewey when the camera focused on both competitors. "This, at least, will restore order," Galen muttered. "The female human will be shredded in seconds." The Ripper apparently thought the same, as it charged forward the moment the match began, blades extended for a quick kill. Doughy didn't move. She stood calmly, waiting until the massive creature was almost upon her. Then, with movement too fast for most eyes to follow, she ducked under the Ripper's slashing arms, grabbed one of its lower limbs, and twisted. There was a sickening crack as the Ripper's own momentum combined with Dewey's leverage to snap its leg backward. The creature howled in pain and confusion as it crashed to the ground. Before it could recover, Dewey was on its back, her small hands finding pressure points between its armored plates. With precision that suggested intimate knowledge of xenoanatomy, she systematically disabled the Ripper's limbs one by one. "What is happening?" General G exclaimed. "The human female is performing some kind of technique I've never seen before. It's called the reverse spine Ripper," Dewey announced loudly enough for the microphones to pick up. "Usually reserved for mouthy ex-husbands back home, but it works on oversized bugs too." With a final twist and yank, she extracted something long and pulsing from between the Ripper's armor plates. The creature went completely limp. "Did she just remove its central nervous cluster?" Galen's attendant whispered in horrified awe. Without breaking the containment sac, Galen confirmed, his voice hollow, "That's supposed to be anatomically impossible." Doughy held up her trophy as the crowd erupted in wild cheers. Earth's reputation was transforming before their eyes, from laughingstock to legitimate contender. In the days that followed, the Brawl Nebula tournament was turned upside down. Earth's champions continued their improbable winning streak through the preliminary rounds and into the eliminations. Their unorthodox methods, what the humans called street fighting, barroom brawling, and occasionally complete bullshit luck, proved bewilderingly effective against technically superior opponents. More significantly, Earth culture began to spread through the tournament complex like a virus. Alien beings of all anatomies attempted to replicate Brick's signature flex. Merchants sold crude imitations of Sister Maria's holy fire bottles. Cargo shorts, Roach's signature attire, became the fashion sensation of the season, despite most alien physiologies being completely unsuited for them. Even more strange was the adoption of Earth gestures. Finger guns, high fives, and awkward thumbs up spread from species to species. The hive consciousness of Betelgeuse, a collective mind of 12 billion individuals, devoted an entire thought cycle to perfecting the fist bump. Television ratings across the galaxy reached unprecedented levels. Earth memes, the concept itself new to galactic society, propagated faster than light speed through the quantum communication network. An image of Roach hiding under an arena bench with the caption, "Survival 100, became the most shared content in galactic history. Galen Voth watched it all with growing horror from his private chambers. The tournament he had overseen for centuries, a showcase of martial perfection and disciplined combat, was devolving into entertainment. This cannot stand, he declared to his inner council. These humans make a mockery of everything Brawl Nebula represents. They do not win through skill or strength or speed. They win through chaos and trickery. Yet they win nonetheless. One council member pointed out, and the audience grows larger each day. I don't care about audience size, Galen exploded. This is about tradition, about proving the superiority of disciplined combat over whatever it is these humans are doing. The council exchanged nervous glances. There is one option, the eldest member suggested cautiously. The Champion's Challenge. It has not been invoked in 700 years, but the ancient rules still permit it. Galen's eyes narrowed. The one-on-one final match, bypassing the remaining tournament structure? Yes, as Overseer, you can challenge their champion directly. One final match to determine the ultimate victor. A slow smile spread across Galen's face. Excellent. I will crush their best fighter personally and restore dignity to our sacred tradition. The announcement of the Champions Challenge sent shockwaves through Brawl Nebula. The remaining matches were cancelled, replaced by a single, winner-takes-all confrontation between High Overseer Galen Vythe and Earth's selected champion. In their preparation chamber, the humans held an emergency meeting. This is bad, Roach said, pacing nervously. Galen's undefeated in personal combat for 1,000 years. He's basically a fighting god. Brick cracked his knuckles. So I'll break him like I broke Krull. No big deal. Sister Maria shook her head. Galen is different. He's studied all our techniques now. He'll be prepared for your strength, Brick, and my fire tricks won't work on him. He's not a spiritual entity. What about me? Dewey asked. I could tear his spine out through his... He doesn't have a spine. Duran interrupted, entering the chamber with a datapad. His species evolved from crystalline formations. Their internal structure is a lattice of living mineral. The humans fell silent. So who do we choose? Brick finally asked. All eyes turned to Roach, who immediately backed up against the wall. Oh no, 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 no. I'm not fighting that crystal monster. I'm the runner, remember? The distraction guy. I'm not the champion. You've won more matches than any of us. Sister Maria pointed out. Your unorthodox tactics confuse them the most. That's because I don't fight. I run away and set traps and drop bowling balls on people. That's not going to work against the tournament master. Doi stepped forward and grabbed Roach by his shirt. Despite being shorter than him, she lifted him slightly off the ground. Listen, Pendejo. Earth needs this win to be recognized by the Galactic Council. Without recognition, we're just another primitive planet ripe for colonization or resource extraction. You're fighting Galen, and you're going to win, somehow, or I'll personally make you wish he'd killed you. Comprende. Roach swallowed hard. Si, comprendo. The day of the final match arrived. The Brawl Nebula complex was filled beyond capacity, with billions more watching via quantum broadcast across the galaxy. The stakes had been made clear. If Earth's champion won, humanity would be officially recognized as a spacefaring civilization with all attendant rights and protections. If they lost, Earth would be classified as a primitive world, off-limits for direct contact, but open for scientific study and limited resource harvesting. The arena had been transformed for the occasion. Gone were the elaborate obstacles and environmental hazards of previous matches. The fighting space was now a simple circular platform, 30 meters in diameter, elevated above a pit of swirling energy. The ancient tradition, Duran explained to the humans as they waited in the preparation chamber. No weapons, no tricks, no escape, just two champions and their skills. The force field around the platform prevents interference. The match ends when one combatant falls into the energy pit or surrenders. Roach, dressed in his lucky cargo shorts and a freshly printed Earth Rules t-shirt, looked like he might vomit. "What happens if you fall into the pit?" he asked weakly. Duran's translator hesitated before providing his answer. "The energy disrupts molecular bonds. It is not painless." Brick clapped Roach on the shoulder hard enough to make his knees buckle. "You've got this, little man. Just do your disappearing act." "That's the problem," Roach moaned. "There's nowhere to disappear to. It's just a platform." "You'll think of something," Sister Maria assured him, making the sign of the cross over his trembling form. "The Lord works in mysterious ways." "So does Roach," Dewey added with a grim smile. General G's voice boomed throughout the complex. "Welcome, beings of all dimensions and phases, to the historic Champions Challenge. Today, we witness the culmination of the most unexpected tournament in Brawl Nebula history." The crowd roared as Galen Veith entered the arena. The Overseer had discarded his ceremonial robes, revealing a body that seemed carved from living diamond. Light refracted through his crystalline form, creating dazzling patterns across the arena. Representing 10,000 years of martial tradition, 16-time champion of Brawl Nebula, the undefeated master of 712 combat forms, High Overseer Galen Veith. The applause was deafening. Galen raised his arms, absorbing the adoration of the crowd. "And his challenger," General G continued, his voice noticeably less enthusiastic, "representing the planet Earth and its unique approach to combat, Roach Morales." The entrance tunnel remained empty. After an awkward moment, Duran physically pushed Roach into the arena. The human stumbled forward, regained his balance, and waved weakly to scattered applause and more than a few amused chuckles. The contrast between the two champions could not have been more stark. Galen stood tall and proud, his crystalline body gleaming with power and confidence. Roach looked like he'd wandered into the wrong building entirely, fidgeting with the pockets of his cargo shorts and scanning the edges of the platform as if still hoping to find an escape route. "Combatants, approach the center," Duran instructed, now hovering above the platform on a small disc. Galen strode forward purposefully. Roach shuffled reluctantly to meet him. "The rules are simple," Duran announced. "No weapons, no outside assistance. The match continues until surrender or fall. Begin when ready." Galen bowed formally to Roach, who awkwardly returned the gesture. "I have studied your species during this tournament," Galen said, his voice resonating like crystal glasses being played. "You rely on chaos and unpredictability rather than skill. That ends today." Roach cleared his throat. "Yeah, well, I studied your species too. You're basically a big walking diamond, right? Pretty expensive, hard to break." "Your assessment is correct. Human. My molecular structure is impervious to your primitive attacks." Roach nodded thoughtfully. Cool. Just one question before we start." Galen raised an eyebrow ridge. "Yes." "Are diamonds flammable?" Before Galen could answer, Roach reached into his pocket and pulled out a small lighter. The Overseer laughed. "A pitiful flame cannot harm me, human. Diamonds burn only at temperatures far beyond what your little device can." Roach flicked the lighter and tossed it at Galen's feet. The crystalline being didn't even bother to dodge the harmless object. Then Roach turned and ran. Galen's laughter echoed across the arena. "Running already? There's nowhere to go. Human." This was true. The circular platform offered no hiding places, no maintenance tunnels, no convenient vents. Roach sprinted around the perimeter, with Galen walking calmly after him, in no hurry to end the spectacle. "Your tactics are useless here," Galen called out. "Face me with dignity." Roach kept running, his eyes on the platform floor. After completing nearly a full circuit, he suddenly stopped, bent down, and appeared to examine something. Galen slowed his approach. "What trick is this now?" he asked suspiciously. "No trick," Roach said, standing up straight. "Just noticing that this platform is, really slippery in spots. Must be some kind of cleaning solution they used before the match." Galen snorted. A pathetic attempt at distraction. He lunged forward with blinding speed, his crystalline arm extended to seize Roach by the throat. The human ducked and spun away, causing Galen to slightly overextend. To everyone's surprise, including his own, Galen's foot slid on the platform surface. He recovered quickly, but his perfect balance had been momentarily compromised. Roach noticed. Guess they really did polish this thing up for the cameras." A murmur ran through the crowd. Galen's expression darkened. "Enough games!" he roared, charging forward with full force. What followed was the strangest championship match in the history of Brawl Nebula. Roach didn't throw a single punch or attempt any recognizable combat technique. Instead, he engaged in what could only be described as an elaborate game of cat and mouse, always staying just ahead of Galen's grasp, occasionally dropping to the floor and rolling, sometimes pretending to slip himself. Galen became increasingly frustrated. His attacks grew more aggressive but less precise. Twice more, his feet slid unexpectedly on the platform. "Stand and fight," he demanded. "Nah, I'm good," Roach replied, dodging another swipe. "Loving the cardio workout, though." 10 minutes into the match, the crowd's mood began to shift. What had started as amusement at Roach's cowardice was transforming into genuine entertainment. Some spectators were even cheering when he narrowly escaped Galen's grasp. In the Earth delegation's viewing box, Brick, Sister Maria, and Dewey watched with a mixture of horror and hope. "What the hell is his strategy?" Dewey muttered. "I don't think he has one," Brick replied. "He's just staying alive." Sister Maria's eyes narrowed. "No. Look at his movements. He's not running randomly. He's making Galen chase him over the same sections of the platform repeatedly." Back in the arena, Galen had finally cornered Roach against the edge of the platform. The energy pit swirled ominously below. "Your evasion ends now, human," Galen declared, advancing slowly to savor the moment. "Any last words before you join the molecular soup?" Roach glanced down at the energy pit, then back at Galen. A strange calm seemed to come over him. "Yeah, actually. You know the funny thing about diamonds?" "What?" Galen asked despite himself. "They're really good at conducting heat." Galen frowned. "What does that mean?" His question was cut short as his right foot slid forward unexpectedly on the polished surface. At the same instant, Roach dropped flat to the platform, rolling to one side. Thrown off balance by his own momentum, Galen windmilled his arms frantically, trying to regain his footing. For a breathless moment, he teetered on the edge of the platform. Then, with almost comical slowness, the mighty overseer Galen Veith, 16-time champion of Brawl Nebula, master of 712 combat forms, toppled backward into the energy pit. The silence that followed was absolute. 60 billion beings across the galaxy watched in stunned disbelief as Roach carefully picked himself up, walked to the edge, and peered down at the swirling energies that had consumed his opponent. Duran hovered down to the platform, his forearms hanging limply at his sides. The winner is Roach Morales of Earth." The silence held for 3 more seconds before the arena erupted in the loudest celebration ever recorded in the complex's history. Spectators of all species leaped from their seats, overturning concession stands and embracing strangers in shared disbelief and joy. In the swirling energy below, Galen's molecular structure was painfully reconfiguring. The process would not kill him, his species was nearly immortal, but he would be experiencing the equivalent of being dismantled and reassembled atom by atom for the next several hours. As the platform was lowered and Roach was reunited with his teammates, General G's voice cut through the celebration. "Unprecedented, unbelievable. The Earth delegation has conquered Brawl Nebula through... He struggled to find the words. Through being really good at not getting hit. Brick lifted Roach onto his shoulders as Sister Maria and Doey danced around them. The human contingent was quickly surrounded by alien admirers trying to touch them, get autographs, or steal pieces of their clothing as souvenirs. Amid the chaos, a battered service robot approached with a communication device. Message from the regeneration chamber, it announced in a mechanical voice. High Overseer Galen Vicky wishes to speak with the Earth Champion. The celebration paused as Roach took the device. Galen's face, partially reformed, but still fluctuating at the molecular level, appeared on the screen. Human, he said, his voice distorted by the ongoing reconstruction. You did not defeat me in combat. Roach shrugged. I didn't lose either. Galen's partially reformed features twisted in what might have been a smile. No, you did not. You found another way, as your species always seems to do. He paused, his image flickering. The Galactic Council will receive my recommendation tomorrow. Earth will be classified as a high-tier death world, and humanity as a Class A sapient species with full rights and protections. The Earth team erupted in cheers. Death world? Roach asked once the noise had subsided. That sounds bad. It is the highest compliment, Galen explained. It means your planet has produced warriors so resourceful and unpredictable that other species should approach with extreme caution. It is grudging respect. We'll take it, Roach said with a grin. One more thing, Galen added. As per tradition, the champion's homeworld receives naming rights to the tournament for the next cycle. What will you call it? The humans huddled briefly before Roach turned back to the screen. Burger Nebula, he announced. We're renaming it Burger Nebula. Galen's partially reformed eye twitched. Burger Nebula? Yeah, and we're going to introduce actual burgers to the concession stands. You guys are going to love them. In the months that followed, Earth culture spread throughout the galaxy like wildfire. Cargo shorts became diplomatic formal wear. The people's elbow was studied as a legitimate combat technique in military academies. Sister Maria's Holy Fire cocktails became the most popular beverage in 17 star systems. Most surprising of all was the political fallout. When the Galactic Council convened to officially recognize Earth, they were so impressed by Roach's unconventional approach to problem-solving that they appointed him to a special advisory committee. Within a year, he had risen to become the Galactic President, running on a platform of thinking outside the box and just winging it sometimes. His first official act was to introduce a new galactic fitness regimen based on what he called 3-leaf clovers, which was just basic calisthenics performed while lying on one's back, waving one's limbs in the air like a dying insect. 10 billion beings across the galaxy adopted the practice overnight. Back on the newly renamed Burger Nebula, now featuring over 300 fast food franchises from Earth. Galen Voth stood in his regenerated form, watching a training session of young alien warriors. Instead of practicing traditional combat forms, they were trying to perfect finger guns and dramatic falls. Is this really what combat has become? He asked Duran, who now served as head referee for the dramatically revamped tournament. Not combat, Duran corrected. Entertainment. The humans taught us that sometimes. It's not about being the strongest or the most skilled. Sometimes it's about making people happy while you fight. Galen sighed deeply. And the betting revenues have tripled. Quadrupled, actually. The cargo shorts merchandise alone has funded 3 new arenas. As they watched, a young Athraxian warrior successfully performed a belly flop onto a practice mat, then raised his arms in Brick's signature victory pose. The other trainees cheered wildly. I suppose there is a certain charm to their methods, Galen admitted reluctantly. Indeed, Duran agreed. The humans have a saying, if you can't beat them, join them. Galen nodded slowly. Perhaps it is time I learned to do what do they call it? The worm? Duran's translator struggled to convert his clicking laughter into English. I believe that would be most entertaining. Overseer. Galen Veth, former champion and current head of Burger Nebula Entertainment Corporation, straightened his cargo shorts, and headed toward the training mat. The galaxy would never be the same again, and perhaps, just perhaps, that was for the best. After all, as President Roach liked to say in his State of the Galaxy addresses, sometimes you win by fighting, sometimes you win by running away really fast, and sometimes you win by convincing everyone else that falling on your butt is actually the coolest thing ever. Words to live by, across the stars,